Hi, and thank you for taking the next step. We welcome you to our Headlands Distillery Business Expansion Work in Progress report. Introducing myself, Karina Frankie, Mohammed Tahir, Ahmed Noor, Tori Macri, and together we are Kmat Consultancy Group. Today, we're going to take you through our progress in relation to our strategic project on Headlands expansion, highlighting our research milestones, our individual methodologies, company analysis, individual recommendations specific to our research questions. And finally, we will outline the way forward for Headlands and what success might look like if Kmat's recommendations are followed. Now, I'll hand over to Tori to outline our research milestones to date.
Thanks, Karina. So the philosophy for our consultancy is to first seek to understand, then to be understood. And in following this philosophy, the steps we've taken in our research and our milestones to date have been as follows. We've spent significant time in information gathering, preparation, research, and we're now at the phase of further work and then solutions and refinement. We remain on track to deliver to you specific reports on each of our key recommendations that will be made in this presentation by the end of April. And I now hand over to Mohammed, who will explain our methodology framework.
Thank you, Tori. The methodology slide explains the Kmat consultancy approach towards its research techniques used to collect primary and secondary data about the client using different research methods. This section is going to highlight the reliability and authenticity of our research. The research methods used varied among the different areas of development at Headlands. Talking about the research method, we used the quantitative research method to do financial analysis of Headlands Distillery to gather relevant data available to suggest the growth statistics. However, we were limited to the unavailability of enough financial instruments provided by the client. We used the qualitative method to analyze the company profile, product portfolio, competition, market research, and distribution channels to validate them with our problem statements. In terms of the primary data, the sample size used to collect primary data was a live interview with the client, which helped our consultancy to analyze the problem statement more carefully. Moreover, additional webinar sessions with the founders helped us in getting answers to key questions during our research process. Moving on to the secondary data, it comprised of several business journal articles, news interviews, online reviews, and market research to support the problem statements and hence help us to find business solutions for Headlands for an optimum growth structure. And now lastly, in terms of the data checks, we validated our qualitative and quantitative research by cross-examining the primary data with secondary data to understand the relevance of our problem statement. Our conclusion was that our secondary data supported the primary data to link with our research questions. I'll now hand over to Ahmed to speak about the company analysis.
Thank you, Mohammed. So I'll be taking you through the company analysis and we'll start with what we know about the company, and then we will also be talking about what we recommend as we move forward. So what do we currently know is we are aware of the current state, which is the product range and cost, the annual turnover, the capital from the hand sanitizer windfall in 2020, the limited expansion capability, and the willingness to explore alternative options. We also know the desired outcomes, so the company structure to support the growth and the philosophy. We are aware of the profitable market penetration for the B2B as well as the B2C, the strong brand and product awareness, the strong sustainable profitable business. Finally, the negotiating framework and posture, which is the market segment, the new product range, the capital raising and financial analysis. We now move on to what do we recommend. Tori will be taking us through the organizational structure and partnerships. I will be taking you through the markets to target and operate within. Mohammed will be taking you through the product mix and the distribution channels. And Karina will be taking you through the financial and capital options. I'll leave you now with Tori to take you through the organizational structure and partnerships.
Thanks, Ahmed. So what is the ideal organizational structure to facilitate the rapid growth expansion of this organization? In determining this, I've looked at and adopted the organizational design framework called the STAR model. There are 5 key focuses on design policy categories of this STAR model. The first one is around strategy. This determines the goals, the objectives, the direction and mission and values. My partners will elaborate on each of these areas further in this presentation. But what is important to note is that we already understand the mission of the organisation around expanding and their values and philosophy of grain to glass and sustainability. Now, currently, we know without doubt that this sits with the 4 owners. However, as the business expands and this becomes critical in defining roles, responsibilities, function and ownership of each of the employees that are brought into the organisation. The third, processes, is associated with workflow, information and instructions. This is critical for risk mitigation and business continuity, and is also important for knowledge management, training, succession planning, etc. This also influences partnerships and key relationships around subsidies and government grants, recruitment, partnerships, and so on. The fourth is rewards, which is about the influencing of people's motivation to perform and meet the organisational goals. It's important that they drive behaviour that aligns to the mission, values and philosophy of the organisation, and they influence the culture, which in a rapid expanding organisation is very critical. The final one is people, and this covers HR, recruitment, selection, training and development, and talent management. And it's important that we find the right people and skills to help you grow and complement your existing skills while developing new skills. Now, in any fast and growing organisation, the structure, while it is important, is secondary to the processes, the rewards and the people that are becoming more important within the organisation. There is no one size fits all, but alignment between these 5 categories is critical to the success of the organisation. And we need to constantly review and assess this and adjust to remain agile. I'll now hand over to Ahmed to discuss marketing.
Thank you, Tori. So I'll be taking you through what are the ideal target markets to enable rapid growth. And what we have done here is actually outlaid or we are showcasing the entire marketing strategy in terms of the targeting strategy and the marketing channels and the KPIs for each of the target audience. We have identified 3 main target audience: the B2C, which is the consumer, segmented into younger and older, with whiskey enthusiasts as well as casual drinkers. The next one is the B2B, or the business, which include lounges, clubs, restaurants and liquor stores. Finally is the blue ocean, which we actually believe this is a good opportunity for Headlands to tap into, which is the low income individuals who consume alcohol at a higher rate. Now, there's a targeting strategy, or there's a differentiation factor for each of these audiences. To begin with, for the B2C or the consumer, this is an interest-based targeting and based on the persona. So this is the differential, or this is a communication factor when it comes to the B2C or the consumer we have just introduced. The B2B, this is where we need to have a competitive advantage, and to do so we need to understand the segment needs in order to be able to communicate effective messaging that shows the competitive advantage versus other suppliers or competitors. The final one is the blue ocean segments, or the low income. Here it's purely tactical, where we need to focus on reducing the price, or our main communication factor here is price. The marketing channels, I believe that social media channels are essential for the B2C as well as the blue ocean segments, where we do have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and so on, because these platforms actually allow you to segment by interests for the B2C, or segment by a low income for the blue ocean. For the B2B, it's a bit different, where we have search engines, which is very critical for the B2B targeting. Even for social media channels, it would be more on a professional platform such as the LinkedIn. When we move forward to the KPIs, it's very similar for the B2C and the blue ocean segments, where we have the reach and impressions for the awareness phase, the engagement metrics such as the VTR and the VCR, view through rate and view completion rate for video content, as well as the website traffic, as well as, so for conversion phase it will be the leads and the sales. For the B2B, it's more of search volume. This is what I was just discussing about having the search engines. And for the consideration phase, it will be more of lead cards, or filling an inquiry form or a contact us form. I now hand over to Muhammad to take you through the product structure, which would best achieve optimal market penetration and profitability.
Thank you, Ahmed. So my research question is about choosing the right product structure for Headlands that will allow them optimum market penetration and profitability. This can include affordable transformation of product portfolio and new production processes. I'll start off with the recommendation of pre-mixed drinks These type of drinks are in high demand amongst the general audience of Australia due to its portability and ready-to-consume nature. The drinks are pre-mixed with alcohol and soda or tonic. Firstly, it's a low-cost initiative that won't act as a completely new option like producing a completely new product like, for example, wine or beer. Secondly, large volumes can be produced because the product usually has a low shelf life, which eventually means more audience reach. The market segment of younger and health conscious people are on the rise as well, ever since the COVID impact. So hence this kind of product can also target such audience due to its product's low alcohol intensity and can further gain more market share. Moving on to the product line expansion. Now this is something related or similar to what Headlands did initially when the demand was high for sanitizers. They used the same setup of manufacturing to produce sanitizers, which was a completely new product line for them. So what we are suggesting is that they could also include cleaning agents that require alcohol, and this will maintain a regular cash flow for the company. Moving on to the automatic packaging systems. This is an important factor to promote growth at Headlands because the world is moving towards automated manufacturing systems. This may have initially high cost, but the profitability is long-term because of less labor hours. So hence it will produce higher volumes of products from the existing setup. And the availability of products in the market will be on a larger scale. Then moving on to the distribution channels. Currently, the distribution channels are limited to retail at online stores, walk-in distillery, or a few stores in the region. So as the total alcohol consumption in Australia tends to increase due to the COVID impact, there is need of availability of all products instantly through various online channels or brick and mortar service or stockists in the whole region, not just NSW. So now I will hand it over to Karina to speak about the capital structure recommendations.
So, how much capital is required and what capital raising opportunities exist to support Kmat's strategy? There will be the cost of a new company structure, processes and time involving strategic planning, governance and policy development. There'll be the cost of new staff, recommended 2 key roles. Initial onboarding and recurrent salary costs and salary packaging options will be recommended for your consideration. The cost of a new product range. As you have seen, Kmat is recommending moving to a more versatile pre-mixed product range that has a wider audience reach and can assist with cash flow. Costs associated with marketing, equipment and packaging and distribution will be outlined, along with recurrent operational costs and forecast annual income from the implemented growth strategy. We will outline the break-even point in editable spreadsheets, which will assist in inputting or adjusting some financial information that still remains unknown to Kmat. So, how does Headland raise this capital? We know there is some existing capital from your hand sanitizer windfall in 2020, although the amount is unknown to Kmat. Should the new product range be explored, there will be either a requirement to obtain new equipment, which can be done on a leasing basis to save capital, or consider a partnership investment from a mixed drink technical expert. Here, I've outlined a social media post on one of Headland's current B2B local breweries called Resin Brewery, who are advertising Headland's gin in a long drink paired with a local kombucha, which is produced in Darts Forest. A company such as this could be approached for a partnership or investment. If they own their own bottling equipment and have expertise in mixed drinks, this is another benefit and may save the need for equipment financing. There is also the option of capital raising through personal or business loans or overdraft, preferably secured against property. It is noted that personal loans or mortgage redraws may enable Headlands to take advantage of lower interest rates, which are currently around 2% compared to 6 or 7% for business overdrafts. Private investment is also an option, however, would require Headlands to relinquish control of a percentage of their company. Headlands could approach their accountants for recommendations to potential client investors, or an investment group. There are a lot of wealthy individuals in the Wollongong area with self-managed super funds looking for returns and at viable options other than the share market. It is noted that given the current market, that private investors would expect an internal rate of return of a minimum 20 to 25% to compete with property, which ANZ has predicted to continue to rise up to 17% in the coming 12 months. So plenty of options for Headlands to explore there. And I'll now hand over to Tori to talk through what success would look like for Headlands if they implemented Kmat's recommendations.
So there's been a lot of information that we've covered in this short presentation, but I think the key focus for us has been in what does success look like for Headlands Distillery. Now we know that having a secure and fundamental base to the organisation is very important in growing, particularly in a rapid growth environment. We also know, and without too much hindsight at this stage, is the products and market to operate in are very critical as well. And we've had some strong recommendations on what areas to look at there. And finally, financially, there's no use growing if we can't find the right financial support and capital investment to grow the business. So the next stage from here will be each of us will provide you with a detailed report on each of these areas by the end of April, explaining in more detail these recommendations and options. We'd like to thank you for your time today, and on behalf of the team and I, we shall be following up with you shortly. Thank you.